Welcome back to another episode of Real Bells. I am May and I'm here with
Josie Cuckoo.
Woohoo! And today we're going to talk to you about WandaVision, which is a new
Wanda.
show that aired 2 episodes last Friday and kind of brought back Vision, who died in Infinity War, Avengers Infinity War, and then has Wanda and him being a married couple stuck in this like surreal suburban life that every episode goes through a different decade of sitcom styles. So, what
Yeah.
did you think of the show?
I was pleasantly surprised. I went into it having no idea what on earth was going to happen. And so I watched it with my sisters. And I think, I feel like I kind of liked it a little bit more than they did. I think they're still like, the jury's still out on how they feel about it. Um, I'm kind of sold at this point, honestly. I'm gonna be
Is it
watching.
because of the sitcom styles?
This is what I was gonna say. So I like old school sitcoms. You know this about me. My sister's not so much fans of the old school sitcom style. So I think that didn't necessarily appeal to them. Personally, I was like, this is two things that appeal to me at the same time. I'm getting like that whole old school sitcom throwback vibe, which I love. I love that, like you said, doing like the ode to older generations of sitcoms and the evolution of what a sitcom, became. I love TV and the history of TV and all that kind of stuff. So to me, that was all super appealing. And then on top of that, there's the actual like WandaVision storyline, which I actually think is really intriguing as well. I had no idea what to expect. I think everyone kind of had questions about what on earth the show would be about, how Vision, who's clearly dead, was going to be in the show.
I mean, I still think he's dead, but that's for Theoriesville.
Yeah, no, I think it's he's 100% dead. Like,
Yeah,
there's no way for him to have become undead. I think it's clear that this is an alternate reality.
for sure.
But but yeah, I think the storyline is really interesting, and it's a good start considering I was very unsure of whether I would be able to get into the Marvel universe television wise. But if this is where they're going to be going with it, they might have me hooked, which I don't, which is going to be a huge commitment considering I don't know
Yeah,
how many shows they're gonna come out with. But
they have
but
a
yeah, I was
lot. They have a lot of shows. A lot of shows. But it's great to get your opinion on it because I was a little bit underwhelmed by it. Now, in terms of like the concept of the show, I liked it. Like I like the style. I think like especially like Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany really nail the era and like the intonation that they put on as actors like to fulfill these specific characters in this specific decade was really really good.
yeah.
And you know the creepiness of being in this obviously not real reality was genuinely weird. I'm like, oh, so the mystery really got me and I like that. But I think I was looking for a little bit more in terms of characterizations. Like I still don't really know that much about Wanda. I still don't know that much about Vision. And I think a series, if anything, that it does better than a lot of movies in general, because they have more time to do it, is kind of go into the backstory of these characters, especially characters like Wanda and Vision, who were very much supporting characters in the movies. They didn't have that much character development in general. So to have the show and have like the first 2 episodes, I still don't really know much about it. Like I feel like their characters are more driving the mystery than the other way around. And I mean, I could be wrong because there's still like, several episodes left, but I was
Yeah.
just kind of like left underwhelmed because I wanted more about Wanda. I wanted to know more about her in general. And I
Hmm.
feel like this was a little bit of a letdown. Um,
Yeah.
and also like the show, hinges on their relationship, but I don't feel like Marvel has developed romantic relationships that well in general. And here it's like, oh, well, at the end of episode 2, she's suddenly pregnant and they're going to have a baby. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know. Why do I need to care about this? Because I'm not really invested in them as a couple to kind of be happy or sad about what will and won't happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's interesting because like I definitely saw that there was a lot of people that had that same sort of response of like being underwhelmed by it all and unsure about whether they care really about these characters. You know, my sisters and I kind of had that debate before we even started watching the show because they were like, "Yeah, we don't even care about these characters. Why should we watch the show?" And I guess like I started off already in a different camp on that because I already liked Wanda.
Mhm.
Like I already like her as a character regardless. I don't care as much for Vision as a character, but he dead, so
Well, that's the thing. I think that I care because like I do like Wanda. I also don't really. I'm not invested in Vision as a person. Not that he even is a person, right? Like.
yeah, robot, whatever. But yeah, no, I think honestly, my opinion is that it's too early to make those judgments. I don't think that 3 episodes is enough for there to be character building and all that kind of stuff happening already. I think, you know, any granted like these are characters that are coming into it from a universe that already exists, so we already know these characters on some level. But I feel like the because of the premise of what this show is about, all of that stuff would have to happen later. So because the reality is we have to sort of recognize that these characters already existed outside of this. Like this is not our introduction to these characters. So we already know who they are in general because we've already seen them. So at this point, it's like they can't take us back to reintroduce us to characters that have already been introduced. So they're continuing a storyline that already started. So from the continuation of that storyline, now they have to build another storyline. And so I think within that storyline, we can definitely get to know these characters more, but that will take time because this is a storyline that the assumption, the theorizing is that obviously, well, we know that this takes place after the events of Endgame.
Mhm.
So the storyline would have to deal with the aftermath of that regardless. So knowing that and this being like the assumption is that this is her dealing with her grief in the aftermath of that. So I think within that we will find the characterizations and depth of like Wanda and what she's going through with her grief. And obviously the show is going to backtrack and explain what happened at some point. So I think it's just like we kind of just have to be a little patient and figure out what the storyline they're trying to tell is. And after all that, you know, if people still feel that way, that's fair. But I'm just really intrigued.
Well, yeah, I am intrigued too. It's just it is wait and see mode, but obviously like it's not like I'm not open to changing my mind about what will happen, you know, in the future. I'm just not all there yet. I'm not fully invested in the show yet.
Yeah.
That's the same for really any TV show. Like nothing was really that gripping from the very first episode. But
Yeah,
you
sure.
know, I guess because it is a TV format and they're paying like an homage to TV in general, you would expect that like with all TV shows, you'd at least get just a little bit more. And Marvel tends to not give that. So
I don't know if it's I don't know that any show would have necessarily done that within 2 episodes anyway. I think, you know, I mean again, like
but you would
this is
still know a little bit about their like backstory and history in terms of, you know, like just a little bit more detail. That's all. Not like I don't need the whole story right now, you know.
yeah.
But
But again, I just feel like the storyline doesn't lend itself to them being able to do that right off the bat, which if they did, it would kind of take away A from the mystery of it and B from the format of it. So it's definitely like I'm interested to see where it goes. Like I said, I'm not 100% like in it yet, but I'm about 85% there. Like I think I'm far more on board than a lot of other people seem like they are at this stage. But I just feel like the story they're trying to tell, in my mind, where I see them going with it is really cool. and I love the overall premise of it is super creative and really different, and just like a really great way of telling a story. Again, like we don't know exactly what's going on and how she got into this alternate universe and all this kind of stuff, but it's a really great way of telling a story about grief. I love that both shows we're talking about are dealing with grief in two very different ways.
True.
And one of them took on the format of a musical, which is an unusual way of tackling grief, and then this one is like old school TV sitcoms. But I think that the reality is, like, you know, we all have interesting ways of dealing with trauma, and sometimes they are ways that seem really unusual and maybe a little crazy to other people, but that is how human beings process things. So I think it's really interesting. I'm really interested to see where they go with it, what it all means. You know, everybody has their theories on how they're in this universe and why and that and what's going on. I'm not as deep into like the comic book universe, so I have heard like theories about who all of the characters are and what's going on. I don't know as much about all of that stuff, but I'm super interested in seeing who the bad guys are and all this stuff and where it goes and who these characters they introduced are. I know they said that the black girl who becomes her friend is supposed to be the adult version of the little girl from
Captain Marvel. Yes.
Captain Marvel, yeah.
Yeah. She's the same character. She's just named Geraldine in the fake reality. So I guess now that, you know, we'll see how that goes.
So I'm excited about what's going to happen with her character. That's really interesting. And and just, I don't know, like the way they did the old school format just really, which is probably why I'm so biased and I'm like, I don't even care about the characterization, because I just the whole sitcom thing just completely hooked me. And honestly, like I'm assuming that's gonna like it's already started to unravel. Her clearly like little things keep happening that her world is starting to fall apart. So I don't know how many episodes that's gonna last before. It said every decade, right? So we were trying to guess like what decade it started with.
And it was the 50s.
I figured probably, yeah. So 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and then if they do like the modern era. So that's kind of 7 episodes max before you've like maxed out the whole sitcom thing. So it's probably not going to last. But personally, honestly, I could watch a whole season of this whole sitcom thing and be happy, which I'm sure other people would disagree with.
Well, that's great. I guess we'll keep you all updated on how we continue to feel about this show in the future.
Really fun.
So until next time, goodbye.
Bye, guys.